Welcome in, everyone, to Spiritual Roots Podcast with me, Misty. Today I'm welcoming in Jess. So we had a little bit of a technical issue with this episode. It's all good. So I just wanted to give you all a heads up that you're going to hear that transition about 27 minutes into this episode. But I'm really excited. I was really grateful that I was able to recover the recording, the first portion with Jess. So anyway, no further ado. So welcome in Jess. She's a listener of the podcast. So thank you, Jess, for coming on.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, let's get introduced. Jess is a Reiki master, an intuitive, a medium. She's done actual readings for families, although she doesn't actively do readings at the moment. She can sense, feel, hear, and have seen apparitions. She's done angel card readings and intuitive readings. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited about this whole thing.
Me too. So let's open it up. What would you like to add before we get started into the questions?
Oh, man. I don't know. I have so much, and I just have all this energy, and I'm just ready to just knock it out there.
Get it into it? All right, well, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's start. What spiritual roots brought you to where you are now?
So I think what started this whole process for me was when I experienced a near drowning incident when I was younger. It's funny because I never really thought about it until just recently, and I was like, when did I start? Because I started feeling things, sensing things, and things of that nature, probably around 8 or 9 years of age. And that's when I actually had the near-death experience. And I'll share a little bit about that with you, but I was visiting, my parents were visiting their friends in New York State. And I remember going to a campground with them and didn't know how to swim. And I was with another girl who I didn't really know. But she was like, do you want to go swimming? And I was like, sure. So her and I went swimming, and my parents left me in a care of one of their friends. And so we were in the pond or lake, and we were just kind of being kids, and we were on this raft. And at one point, I remember seeing the woman who was supposed to be watching us leave. So she left us. So me and this other girl were by ourselves with no adults around. And I just remember floating. Yeah, I know. I just remember floating in the pond. And at one point, I just remember wanting to go find my parents. And so I got off the raft. And when I got off the raft, I fell, obviously, into the water, but I couldn't swim. And so I started to panic. And I just remember sinking and sinking. And I remember hearing the girl that was with me screaming for help. But at one point, I just remember being in the water, panicking. And then all of a sudden, everything kind of went dark. And I remember being very, very calm. I remember breathing underwater. I remember swallowing water. And I just remember just being very relaxed. And at one point, all of a sudden, I saw this white light, like everybody says that they see when they have a near-death experience. And I could see this white light, but I could also see the water above me while I was in the water underneath, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it was weird because I could see a scene that was happening above the water while I was under the water. And I just remember that I saw this boat. And I saw this woman jumping off the boat and pulling both of us out of the water. But when she pulled us out of the water, the boat and the woman disappeared.
What?
So it's a true story.
Wow.
So me and this girl that I didn't know her. We were just like, hanging out because our parents were there. And we're both on the shore crying hysterically. And at some point, our parents came and we explained to my parents and her parents, like, what had happened. And but nobody was there. And then I was thinking as I got older, because I think about this a lot,
Yeah.
um, there, there, to me, I think that was like a guardian angel or something, because if it hadn't been, I don't know of anybody that would just like go through that experience, save two kids, and just leave them on the shore and take off. Like that doesn't
Right.
usually happen.
Yeah.
But I remember what the woman looks like to this day. I remember exactly what she was wearing. I remember exactly how her hair was. I remember all of it. And at that point, I just remember that I started to sense things, see things, hear things, and it kind of just that I think that sort of opened up this, I don't know, this new thing for me.
Yeah. Did did anybody else see this woman, or like did your friend or your acquaintance,
N-
did she see her too?
Yes, both of us saw her. Nobody else was there, but both of us explained the same exact story, exactly what we saw, and but they were, but she wasn't there.
That's
Nobody was
incredible.
nobody was there. But I'm telling you, I know for a fact that I drowned. I mean,
Yeah.
I drowned,
Yeah. How did you
and
come
I
back
was just,
to? Do you remember that? Like coming back to consciousness? Do you remember
no,
that part?
I don't, the only thing I remember was I was in the water playing, and then I went to get off to go find my father.
Hmm.
And I just remember not being able to touch the ground. And I remember panic. I remember a sense of calm. And then I just remember being taken out of the water, put to shore. And that was pretty
Wow.
much it.
That's an incredible story, Jess.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
that's
But
beautiful too. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. That's
no, that's
beautiful.
okay. But like, it's funny because, like I said, I know exactly what she was wearing. She was wearing a yellow fuzzy like tank top with like these white fuzzy shorts, and she had blonde hair, and her hair was in a bun. And that's what I remember her as. And she was this petite woman.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's unusual that, if she were a physical person, that she wouldn't stick around. So that makes so much
right.
sense that it was some type of guide for sure. Some,
I don't know how else to explain it. I don't
yeah,
remember anybody else with her either. I just remember a boat, a white boat. But I was seeing this while I was under the water.
oh wow.
It, it's just I can't explain it. Like you had to experience that yourself. But it was like a movie I was watching above the water while I was face down in the water.
Wow. And how old were you again? 8 or 9, you
God, I was
said?
probably 8 or 9. Yeah.
Wow.
And the woman who was supposed to be watching us, that's a whole separate story, but she was a little under the influence and just had taken off and just sort of left us. So
Wow.
yeah,
So that's where this all started for you. This is
I
fascinating.
I think so, because I don't remember me being able to do or hear or sense or feel or all that in, prior to that.
Yeah.
But something happened that day that made me have some sort of a shift,
Hmm.
I believe.
So how did that go moving forward for you? Did things start to come to you in your dreams? Like, open up a little bit about that, if you would, about like
Yeah.
what started to happen after this incident.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really like I at that time I didn't really connect what I was sensing and feeling and all that to that incident. But like I had
Hmm.
shared before, I think now that I had time to reflect about it and the timing,
Yeah.
that's kind of where it all began. But like I could sense things for sure. The energy was different to me. Energies felt different. Like I could sense bad energy. I could
Hmm.
sense good energy, comfortable energy. So I think the energy process itself was something that I was first noticed a
Okay.
change to.
Yeah. Okay. Did you start to work with that at all? So let's start with the energy because that's what you started to notice first. Did
Yeah.
you start to work with that when you got older, or when did you recognize that it was more of a gift that may
Yeah.
have been connected to your to this incident?
I say probably in high school is when I really was like, huh. I was like, something's different in this sense of like, did I just see what I thought I
Yeah,
saw type situation?
yeah.
Or did I really hear that in my head? Or did that really like, or did I hear it from the universe or a spirit or something?
Hmm.
Um, so at first, to be honest, I think once I realized, I kind of freaked out about it. And I was finding myself in a situation where I was wondering whether or not I wanted to explore this new situation that was sort of placed in front of me, or if I just didn't want to. So it kind of scared me to be honest. And for the longest time, I kind of like I s- I knew that it was there, but I kind of tried my best to kind of like push it aside and not acknowledge it because I think
Hmm.
I was too worried at that time.
Yeah. And that makes sense because you're young, and even when you're, in school, you don't necessarily know what to do with that. So that's understandable that you were a little afraid of that gift.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
so like yeah, it's just it was a lot to kind of like, you know, take in
Yeah,
and
definitely.
how to
That's a
process
lot. Hmm.
and how to process it, and what would people think and like would something bad happen to me if I opened myself up like, like those unknowns. It's scary. So
Yeah,
I was treading with caution.
absolutely. And that makes total sense that you would do that. So I guess that would be an obstacle that you ran into, and we'll get into the obstacles in a little bit. But when did you start to open up to where you felt like you were safe to take on those messages and like start to feel that energy
Yeah.
and figure out what to do with it?
Honestly, probably in my late 20s and early 30s, to be
Okay.
honest,
Yeah.
is when I was like, no, I'm going to be comfortable with it because I know that I'm not getting into it to do bad things or
Yeah.
to want bad things to happen. Like my intention is pure and positive. So I was okay with that. And that's, kind of what made me feel a bit more comfortable. And also, I figured out a way how to turn it on and turn it off
Okay.
naturally now.
Yeah.
So I, yep. So if I feel like I'm in the mood to kind of like see what's out there, if you will, I turn it on. If
Oh,
I'm not in,
I need
if
to know
I'm not in
more.
the mood, okay, okay. If I'm not in the mood or it's not a time or whatever,
Hmm.
I turn it off. And it's simple as that. So I turn it on and turn it off.
I love that. What's your process for turning on
Mhm.
your like you being open?
Yep. So it's visual.
Okay.
Um, For me, I basically I know this kind of sounds silly, but it works for me. So I envision a light switch. So when I'm ready and willing, I
Yeah.
envision the light switch going on. If I am not in the good place, I envision it off.
I love
So,
that. Yeah.
yeah,
What a good mental cue, for your conscience and your unconscious to communicate with one another, saying, okay, now's the time to be active. Nope, now it's
right,
time to chill out and we're going to turn off for the night and settle
right.
down.
And it's interesting, honestly, because I don't really talk freely about this stuff. So a lot of my friends don't really know about this. They know that I'm into energy. They know that I do Reiki. They know that I like crystals. They know that I like reading cards, but they don't really know the extent of my ability
Hmm.
because I'm pretty private. I'm a pretty private person. Um, but I feel comfortable with you and your audience because your audience are my friends,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm comfortable. You guys are my people, so I'm comfortable to share.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. And thank you to the listeners, everybody that's on board.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
this
for
is a
sure.
safe space. That's what we're here for.
Hmm.
Um, so you touched on the obstacles of like the fear and, fear of maybe people knowing or, however you worded that. Like, how did you start to deal with that? What was that obstacle? Like, how did that come up? What was one of those that maybe you didn't expect when you started to realize that you were open like this?
How, I guess, how much I can actually pick up and what I can
Oh,
pick up.
okay.
Um, Sometimes it's not good stuff, like not good stuff in the sense as evil, but like not good stuff like it's like sad. Like so for example,
Hmm.
I literally can be anywhere. I could be at a grocery store, I could be anywhere, and I can walk by somebody and I can feel like an immense grief on a person, stuff like
Yeah.
that. That's
Wow.
really difficult because even without this stuff, I'm a very, well, I feel like I'm a very caring and nurturing person. And my first instinct is to be like, are you okay? Like, do you need something? But you can't just walk up to people like that,
Right.
and just be like, so that's kind of hard because I want to be able to help, but at the same token, I know that everybody doesn't, they're not in that same space.
Yeah.
And setting boundaries, like boundaries is important, but just picking up things that you don't necessarily want to pick up, I guess,
Yeah.
is a challenge.
And that makes sense. And you bring up a good point about, being ethical with your abilities too, because you're so right about, some people aren't open to this stuff and they are like, no, thank
Right.
you. And you don't want to offend someone or put yourself into a situation where that could turn bad real quick. So that's a great point that you brought up. Thank you. And I know that's
Yeah.
a hot button topic in the community about, cold reading people or, you know, and
Right.
me as a tarot reader, sometimes I'm like, hey, do you want a reading? But you're so right, you have to put the brakes on and let them come to you or if the opportunity opens up. So good point.
Right. And I
Okay.
always feel like, I don't know, I feel like I'm, what do you call it? I forget what the word is, but a conduit. So I feel like I'm
Mm,
a conduit. Like I can hear. And, if I feel comfortable or if it's the right time or if I'm participating in like, whatever readings or shows or something, then I will
yeah.
share because I do feel like it's not, I'm getting the information from something, from
Yes.
somewhere, from someone. So I see myself as a conduit.
So you have Claire audience, Jess, right? So sounds
Y-
like you have a few Claires.
I think so. Yes.
Like Claire audient with the hearing, Claire sentient with the feeling. You have a
Yeah.
little gamut of Claires going on. Wow.
I do
And all
have
the
a little
conversations
gamut.
we've had, I never knew. I never knew. This is
Well,
fascinating.
I know because like I said, I am a very private person and I don't like to be like, "Hey guys, look what I can do." Like
Right.
that's not my forte. That's not my
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I get it. That's amazing.
But
So
now
what are
everybody's going to be like, "Oh
Jess?
my God."
You might have people
Right?
coming to you and be like, "Hey, I heard you did
Uh,
this thing."
yeah.
No,
Yeah, it's
that's okay.
true.
You can say no. You can say no, thanks. I can do it, but maybe not right now. Um,
Yeah.
so what do you do with your practices now? Like
Hmm.
you're a Reiki master, you said.
Yeah.
How do you work your clairs into Reiki? Do you do both of them together? Do you connect them somehow when you're doing Reiki on someone? Are
So
they open to that?
yeah, so I don't know if you knew this or not, but probably I don't know, it's been a while now, maybe 5, 6 years. I did have a Reiki office in Canaan, New Hampshire for a while, and
Oh,
I took clients on. and I did Reiki and I did card readings during that time. And I had my own clientele. But I did that for a while, but then I ended up discontinuing just because I worked full time and I was doing this stuff during the weekends and it really just became too much. And I needed to rest myself because I was taking on everybody else's energy and basically wasn't really leaving anything for myself, and that just doesn't mix well. So,
Yeah.
so I don't really practice Reiki much now. I mean, I still have the skill set to do it. If people want me to do it and they ask, I'm happy to do it, but because it's going to be, I have it forever.
Right.
And then, and I can certify other practitioners if they wanted to. But I often, some people were comfortable with me doing the Reiki, and then just, anytime I had any messages while I was doing the Reiki, I would ask them if it was okay for me to, before the session, hey, sometimes if I, do Reiki, I get these messages and pictures in my head. And if I do you want me to share that information with you, or would you rather not? And most people were totally fine. And whatever I sensed or got, I would explain to them. And oftentimes they would be like, that's incredible because, that has a correlation of me doing X, Y, Z, and I can't believe you picked that up. And then that opened up a whole other bag of,
Wow.
interesting conversation. So, yeah.
I wish people could see my face because I'm like glowing. This is so amazing. I love this so much.
I love it.
So was it mediumship that was coming through for you? I mean, I'm going to ask you a million questions now. Was this mediumship that
Yeah.
would come through for you? Like, would it be ancestors or relatives of people who passed, or was it like parts of their body that you would see things? Like, how would that come through for you when you were
Yeah.
doing Reiki like that?
Yeah. I would see people. I would
Okay.
see, I would see I would see people. I would see, like, what do you call it? Like spirit guides. I would see
Hmm.
spirit guides. I would hear things. So, I mean, I guess it depended on the person and what the circumstance was. And
Hmm.
sometimes I didn't pick up anything, and that's totally okay too. But yeah, I've many years I can hear things and see things. And at this point, it's just kind of expected, really.
That's fascinating. How do you hear the voices? How do they come through you? Um, and I'm only asking because I'm just going to
Yeah,
share something personal from me, if you don't mind, because it kind of correlates together.
sure.
Um, I also am clairaudient, but I can only get the messages when I'm actively doing it when I'm ready to go to sleep, if that makes sense. Like that's when I open up and
Yeah,
I hear like a male voice, I hear a female voice. I've heard little kids before. Like how do those come through for you? Is it a thought that comes through? Is it an actual voice that you hear? I'm just
yeah.
interested in how that presents to you.
I think it's both, to be honest. And honestly, I think that everybody has a capability of doing this
Yeah.
stuff. But I think the problem is that we are so busy all the time, and we are like our frequency is just so deafening, right? And so I
Yes.
think that the reason why we hear things when we're calm is because our energy level now is down to the level of where it should be, um, to be able to hear and pick up those voices or sounds or smells, because I can also smell too. But and
Wow.
that's why I do a lot of meditation, a lot of meditation, because I think it's super important to kind of just be still and quiet yourself so you can, like, hear and process. And I like quiet. I mean, I do
Yeah.
like quiet.
Same.
There's
Hmm.
something about, like, if somebody said to me, you're going to have to sit here for 3 or 4 hours just in silence, I would totally be down with that. I have no problem sitting in silence and just being calm.
Yes. Same with a cup of coffee.
Yes. Yeah.
Or tea, like we used to, have tea
Yeah.
times.
I loved it.
I loved those conversations. Honestly, I miss those times. But Um, yeah, you have a ton of clairs. Just this is so fascinating. I love this so much. I'm like beaming.
I, I love that. I love that for us.
I do
Yeah, I
too.
just, and it's funny because like I don't like I honestly don't talk to people about this just because I just don't,
Yeah,
but like I said, but because I know who you are and who our mutual friends are, I feel like it, it's nice to be able to talk about this stuff because I'm not the only one that has this stuff. You're not the only
right,
one that has this stuff. Everybody has a bunch of this stuff, but again, you have to kind of be careful on who you tell and
right.
you know, yeah.
Yeah, who you're open up. Hope you like who you open up to. I mean, because
Right.
you don't know. You don't know how that person may react. So I totally feel you there. That's why I sound a little hesitant sometimes, and I'm like, I'm gonna put the brakes on, but I'm gonna say this
Yep.
anyway. So my voice gets a little higher, and I'm like, what's coming out? Um, but
Yeah.
um, when I try to tune in, because
Mhm.
I'm trying to work on my mediumship, because it for you it sounds like it comes in hot and heavy sometimes. For me, I have to like work on it, and I do that like I said at bedtime. That's when I do my exercises,
Right.
and that's when those come through for me. Like the other night, for example, I had one, and they just happen, right? I know I'm trying to work on them,
Right.
and then all of a sudden it'll just come in. Like the other night, I had one come
Hmm.
through as a female voice, and she was like, "He's here," and I said, "Who?" And she says, "The boy." And I was like, "Well, what's his name?" Crickets. So I get bits and
Yep.
pieces like that, and I write them down. Do you write yours down at all? Like if you have, I don't know, say you're in the kitchen and you
Uh,
have someone come through, do you ever write those down? Or if you're working on someone?
not not really. Well, if I was working on somebody, yes, or if somebody was asking for a reading, because
Hmm.
sometimes if somebody asks for a reading, sometimes I can actually pick up stuff before the actual reading, like a day before
Yeah.
I have the reading, I can pick up stuff. But before to that, I wanted to backtrack a little bit about what you were
Sure.
saying, how you're
Yeah.
practicing on your mediumship. I
Hmm.
think part of the challenge.
And we're back. We had some technical difficulties. All right, Jess, where did we leave off? You were talking, I had talked about my Claire's, and then you wanted to backtrack a little bit and get into that a little. You
Oh,
remember where we left off?
yes, I do. So what I was
Okay.
saying, okay, so you were explaining or sharing that sometimes at night, that's when you hear things the best because you're getting ready to bed and like settle and all that. But
Yeah.
what I was going to say was that sometimes the reasons why I feel that we don't or we can't or we don't hear stuff during the day, or it could be because you're trying too hard. You're
Hmm.
trying too hard to want to get that information. And I feel like that sometimes when you're trying too hard, you're actually causing a block to happen because
Okay.
you're so fixated on trying to hear something and you're like, oh gosh, I hope I can hear it. When am I going to hear it? Like, I feel like most of that stuff happens when you're not even thinking about it or you're kind of like relaxed about it, which makes sense, right? Because you're in bed and you're kind of like calming down and able to listen, and maybe you haven't spent all day being like, oh geez, like how come I'm not getting the information that I want to
Yeah.
get, so I think I've learned that, like, because at one point I was trying, for me personally, I was trying way too hard, and then I found myself getting frustrated and mad because I wanted more, but I
Yeah.
was not getting more. And then it almost became this like vicious cycle sometimes where I was like, okay, that's enough. I just got to stop because I'm getting too involved in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That does make sense. Yes. And I still find myself get frustrated at night when I'm laying in bed. I'm like, okay, I'm focused. What the F is going on here?
Right.
So I think you're right, and then I just fall asleep, and then I might have some crazy dream that comes
Right.
through
Because I think
instead of hearing.
because I think we're trying too hard. You're forcing it, right? You're forcing it
Yeah,
at that point. So I just say kind of like relax about it and don't think about it, because that's when you're gonna not that's when stuff is gonna come to you, is when you're not really thinking about it because your attention is somewhere else. and you're kind of
Yeah.
open at that point because you're not like obsessing about it, if you will.
Yeah, that's true. And, I think during the day too, I try to close myself off on purpose because, I work in an office and I work with the public. And so I have to be focused there. Or if I'm out in public, I try not to be turned on either, open to that. But
Right.
sometimes it comes through, but not clairs. I am very clairsentient, so I get those feelings. Like I've entered a restaurant with my husband one time, and we were sitting in the middle of the room, and there was a guy at the bar, and I was like, we have to leave now.
Yeah.
And he's looking at me like I'm crazy, like, what the hell's wrong with you? I'm like, we're leaving. We're leaving. I can't be in here. Like I started to almost have like a panic attack,
Right.
but I could tell it was from that guy.
Oh,
And
yeah.
when we got to a different restaurant, he was like, are you cool now? I was like, I am much better. That was intense. That was
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah, there are plenty of times where like it's the same thing. Like I'll be somewhere and I may not even see the person, but I can sense their energy if they're like behind me or like in another aisle or something. And it's like,
Yeah.
whoa. Yeah, so I totally understand that for sure.
Time to get out of here. I told one of my friends that same day that it happened, and she was like, what the hell? Did he murder someone? I'm like, I have no idea, but that
You're
was
like,
intense. He was not good. Whatever his
no,
energy was, I don't know, but
right. Yeah,
it
it's
was
crazy because
scary.
people don't even have to, right, and people don't
Yeah.
have to say anything. You can just like somebody could be right next to you quietly in line and you're like, oh, you're like, this is not cool.
Right, yeah. Get out of here. Time to
Yep.
leave.
Yep.
So, what other practices? So, let's talk a little bit about your angel readings because we were at an event together. We worked event. I think that's when I first met you, right? Was when
Yes.
Kristen had Kalahari on the 3rd floor. I think that's the
Yep.
first time I met you.
Yeah, I think so too.
Can you go a little bit into your angel readings? I want to hear a little bit more about that if you're open to that.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I use angel cards to help, and then it's similar to the same situation. Like, usually I'll tell the person that I'm reading for, like, like I'm going to pick these cards, but these messages that I get are going to be based on, partially on the cards, but anything else that I get, I will share with you. So like, it's the messages not from me. So like the cards might say something, but I'm trying to like explain to the person that it's the message, that's on the card, but it's also trying to convey to that individual. But I get more pieces with it though, too, which I build upon, which does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely it does. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
I
I
was
was
going to ask, are there any specific angels that you work with when you're working with those cards? I know, sorry. We've had some technical difficulties, listeners, so we're working through it together.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's terrible. The reception over here. That's what happens when you live in
really
Grafton.
cool. Yeah, well, and it is what it is. We're here to have a conversation and shit's going to happen. So, are there any, like, angels that you work with in particular? Like, some people have Archangel Michael that they work with, or Uriel, or whoever.
No, not really. I just,
Yeah.
if I see them, if they present themselves, then I will say to the person like, oh, angel, Michael's here or whomever it might be. But sometimes, because I'm not all familiar 100% with all of the angels, but there will be times where I will read for somebody and it will be very clear to me, like they'll have like 2 or 3 different angels with them, and I usually will say it that way. Like I'll say, oh, I'm not sure exactly who they are, but I can tell you. And it's interesting too, because there is a different energy that I associate with, like, is it a spirit guide or is it an angel, or different spirits to me have different types of energy, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
so for example, like I know the difference between a grandmother spirit versus a child, because there is a different energy between a grandmother spirit and a child spirit. I don't know how
Okay.
I can explain it, but it feels different to me.
Does it feel more like at home if it's a grandmother spirit? Does it like a more cozy feeling? Or is it more, I don't know, do you get like certain smells that come up for you? Like,
No, it's more of a feeling. It's just more of a feeling. Like a tingly, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a tingly sensation. Like I just can,
okay.
like, maybe it's the intensity of the energy. Maybe that's what it is. Like, so like a grandmother energy to me might feel a bit more stronger than a child energy, which is a bit more less, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah, that totally makes sense. It would make sense that a grandmother would come in a little bit stronger since she's lived a little more life,
Right.
had more
Yep.
energy to um to exude, to come through to you. That's
Right.
interesting.
It is
Does do
interesting.
does it
And I
yeah.
just kind of figured that out like probably 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. I was just like, oh, after some of the readings I've done and everything, I was just like, it feels different to me. I'm like, oh, did you have like did you, unfortunately, there have been times where I've been able to pick up on little children energy. And so,
Mhm.
I'll say to the person like, oh, like I feel a smaller, younger energy. Did you lose a child or like a younger person? And oftentimes the other person I'm reading for in the past was like, yes. And I was just able to put those associations to those, different types of energies. And I was like, that was interesting to me. I was like, I think I actually can tell the difference between energies.
Oh, that's fascinating. You're you're pretty advanced, my friend. I love this so much. Do you do mediumship readings, or is it strictly to like family that you were reading for mediumship? Have you
So
expanded to other folks?
I have only I've only done probably 4 or 5, and there were there was one family. So I'll share this story. I'll try to like change it a little bit just because I don't know if she listens,
Yeah.
or
Mhm.
what her belief is. But I used to work with this girl, and I knew nothing. I worked with her, but I didn't work closely with her. But every time she would walk by me, I could feel that there was to me, yet again, I felt like there was this younger attached energy to her. And it got so, not obsessive, but in the sense of like the spirit that was with her was trying to get my attention to convey something to my colleague. And so
Okay.
again, you have to be careful because A, I'm at work. B, like that's kind
Mhm.
of inappropriate, and I just was like, what is this about? So one day I had enough, and I was like, hey, I was like, I hope you don't I hope you don't mind me asking this, but I really need to ask you this. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, did you, I'm like, did you lose like a little kid in your family? Like, I'm really sorry to ask, but I have to ask, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And she kind of like took a step back, and she was like, uh, yeah, I did. And I was like, okay. So long story short, she had lost a niece through a very tragic accident, unfortunately, very
Oh.
sadly. And that day, ironically, that day was the anniversary of her passing. And
Wow.
it was shocking to me because not only was I able to pick it up that energy, but that energy was obviously trying to have me communicate to her aunt that she was still very much around. And so I had expressed to
Yeah.
her that this little spirit had been bugging me in a nice way for a couple of weeks to be like, I need you to like, connect with her. And I was actually like telling the spirit, like, I can't, like I was having a
Yeah.
conversation with this spirit.
Oh my God.
It was a very weird thing. And so I actually ended up the reading for that family who lost their
Oh.
their family member. It was a grandmother, a grandfather, the kiddo's mom and then my colleague who was the sister. And it was a reading that I will never, ever forget because that to me was life-changing. It was insanely accurate. It was just things that I wouldn't know that she was giving me information to like express to her family. It was just crazy.
Wow. I have chills just right now.
Yeah,
I
it was
have
crazy.
chills.
Yeah.
That is crazy. And since they agreed to you reading for them, I assume not necessarily closure, but they got some confirmation and maybe a little bit of healing out of that reading that you did for them, because that sounds like a very beautiful thing that you did, especially if they were all gathered together.
Yeah, it was it I would hope so, and yes, I think
Yeah.
so because you know they also had their moments, I think, where they were looking for validations, like the grandfather was very close to their grandchild, and he would often say that he could feel her, or like a toy of hers would come on at their house and he'd like acknowledge it. And then I was like, yeah, that was very much her. And they felt peace with it because I was able to give them the validation that, yeah, she was very much still part of their life, just in a different capacity.
That is so incredible. Oh, I
Yeah.
love this so much. That's so powerful. And that you can do that. I just love mediumship for that reason,
Right.
because, our loved ones are here with us no matter what. Whether someone's open to it or not, they're there. And, people who are mediums and have that ability and are strong with it, I just appreciate you all so much. And like you said, we all have that ability. And if you exercise it and you're open and you're willing, you can have those beautiful moments with people that can be healing for them. And I love that so much. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
I mean, I think it is incredible, but I also think too, like, other people, they need to be sort of open too, I think. You know,
Absolutely. Yes.
and then, me being open, they being open, because, excuse me, because I was like, what if I sit down with this family? And I really had to think about this because I knew what was at stake. I was like, well, the reading could go extremely bad and I could be wrong about everything.
Yeah.
And then that would be terrible. And then how would I feel and how would they feel? And it would just make me feel like just terrible. But
Yeah.
after that situation at work with me asking her about it, I was like, I don't know how much more I need to know, because like, I tell you what, too, the other part of the story, which is intriguing to me, which I think is like the best part of the story, a part of it was that I said to my friend, I was like, I can't quite understand your niece's name. She keeps telling me like a name, but it's a different type of name. I think it's a type of different name. And I'm like, it sounds like Jess, but I'm like, but that's my name. And I'm like, I'm not understanding, but I'm like, is it similar? Like, is it similar to Jess? And she was like, yes. And her name was, I'm not sure if I should say her name out of just, but
That's okay. Yeah.
but it was shockingly similar, and I had actually said the name, which was
Wow.
more of a validation. I was like, I got to read for this family. I mean, I just, I got the kid's name, and how would I know that? And
Right.
how would I know the energy? I'm like, this is just, I've got to do it. And I thought about it. I prayed about it. I thought about it. I meditated about it, and I just did it, and it went better than I ever expected. And after that, though, I was just like, it was so much like work and fear and like happiness. Like, it was very positive, but at the same time, it was just so much to kind of like take in, that I was just like, I don't know if I can do this all the time. I don't know if I want to
Yeah.
do it all the time, because it's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of energy. Just reading cards in itself, I can't imagine doing a full mediumship reading for somebody. I mean, even if you're strong at it, it's a lot of
Right.
energy all around. And how powerful is it that that little girl was strong enough to come through to you too and connect to your energy and know that you were the person that needed to pass that message on. Like, I'm sure
Right.
she knew that it was all going to work out, but you don't know that. You know what I mean? Like, she's
Right.
like, Jess is the one that needs to do this. I know she's open. I know she's that conduit. And how powerful of her to recognize that.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, it's crazy now because she's right now, and I see like her family posts things like her, her
Hmm.
past birthdays and how old she is and all that stuff. And it's crazy because I think right now her birthday was in May, and I think she turned 17 in May. And I was just like, it's just crazy to me because to me, I actually see her as I don't know if anybody else, but to me, I see them as they were like when they
Yeah.
passed.
Hmm.
So I don't see her as a 17-year-old. I feel her and sense her as a young little child as she was.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's, it's just so incredible. I just have to take it in for just a second because
That's
that is, it's a lot and that's amazing at the same time. Would you ever consider doing it, like not necessarily one-offs, but if a family came to you again, would you consider doing that if you were comfortable or do you know what
I
I mean?
think,
If someone
yeah, I
resonates with
think
you?
I think so. I mean, I think each family, each person, each circumstance is different. So it's hard
Hmm.
to say. I mean, I feel like at the moment, if somebody were to come up to me and say, "Hey, would you do this?" I think my answer would be, I'm not sure. Like, I have to sit with it and I have to feel it
Yeah.
out before I could commit. Um, because it's so much. Like, I can't explain it, but I mean, you don't want to let people down, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I
I
think
totally understand that.
you don't want to let people down. And I think that's like the number one challenge. But again, I base it upon the circumstance, the feeling, what's the purpose of it? Like, there's a lot
Hmm.
at stake. So would I be willing to? Yes, but the circumstances would have to be,
Yeah, that's
comfortable.
fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a boundary. That's
Yes.
totally understandable. Totally understandable. And acceptable, and I would hope that, the person would appreciate that if you were like, I don't think so, or let me think
Right.
about it. I mean, they came to you for a reason. Hopefully their reasoning was on the up and up also,
Right.
because as a reader, whether that's mediumship or cards,
Hmm.
you're expending your energy too, so that person also needs to be have integrity as
Right.
well.
I was just going to say, I think, I use all of the resources that I have. Like I use like when I do readings and, either cards or just in generality, I use like everything. I use my cards. I use my intuition. I use the feelings I get. I use the energy that I sense, and I basically wrap it all in one big package and present it in such a way. So I use it all. Like, it's just not like, oh, you're a card reader, I'm just going to use the cards and kind of base it upon
Yeah.
that. It's not like that
Hmm.
simple. Like, it's much bigger of a process for me when I read for people.
Yeah. I mean, everybody just has done a reading for me, and I remember when I got it from you, I was in the car with a friend, and I just said, "Holy shit!" out loud.
Yeah,
And
I
I remember
remember.
writing you back,
Yeah,
and it's just as readings are very powerful. I'm
thank
not
you.
not gonna lie. You're welcome. I can definitely tell that you channel when you're doing
Yes.
your reading. That's for sure. It comes through in the way that you word things. So,
That's
as the
interesting
person
because
that's received your reading, I'm saying that to you.
yeah, that's interesting because I mean, often the feedback I get is like, wow, that was great. And yeah, I can resonate and whatever. But I've not really had anybody said, geez, like, that's crazy, because like that is that's the phrase that she would have said, or that's the phrase that he would have said, or he used to call me that, or whatever. But I also have a really good friend too. And it was funny because her mom had passed away quite some time, and I was talking with her and just making sure she was doing okay. And then I said, so I included in my text to her, like, I love you to the moon and back. And she just sent me a text and was like, that's what my mom would always say to me, verbatim. And I was like, who's crying? I'm crying and she's crying. It was just insane. So things like that, it's just incredible.
Yeah, you're channeling too, not just
Yeah.
medium.
Yeah.
Are there any books that you reached out to, like when you started to recognize maybe your abilities and you were like, let's look into this a little more? Did you gravitate to any books in particular?
Not really, to be honest. I think I don't really read a whole lot of books. Sometimes I will, but it's not a big thing. I'm more of like podcast and audio stuff. But, honestly, for me, it's meditation. Anything with meditation, that's what I go to, whether it's guided meditation or just gentle sounds. But I listen to a lot of Jason Stevenson. He's got lots of great podcast, not podcasts, but like music and guided meditation.
Okay.
He's great. So and it's Stevenson, Stephenson. He's great, but he does like a lot of Reiki energy, calming energy, anxiety stuff. But I tend to just, go to meditation to kind of have the clearer thoughts,
Yeah. No, I love that. I love meditation, and it really does open you up. So if that's the way you get it done and that's how you learn, I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah. I just honestly think, like I said, if you can just sit in quiet and just listen to your own breath and just listen to the sounds, that to me is like crazy in itself, because you can't really, you're not honed in, normally, but like when you quiet stuff down, like the stuff that comes in that you can suddenly hear when you're meditating is quite something. So I often tell people, man, if you can just meditate. And some people are like, I can't sit still. I'm like, 2 minutes, just do it for 2 minutes, like every other day, and then build yourself up. And then, before you know it, you'll be able to meditate just fine.
Right. You're working that muscle like a marathon runner. They don't run the 26 miles in the first time. They have to build it up.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that's great advice. Meditation. It's a big one. I've had some pretty crazy things come through. I like Insight Timer. Have you ever used that for meditation at all?
I have not. Actually, yes, I have. It is good.
They have, and part of it's free, or you can pay for it if anyone's interested.
Right.
But there's some ambient sounds in there, and it's not guided. I use the fire one because fire is my element. I just love working with fire. And that's where I met my Native American spirit guide.
Nice.
That was, So, Insight Timer, I would suggest too. If anyone else is looking for that. But I've loved this conversation so much. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but we worked through it.
I know.
Persevered.
It's crazy. I was like, oh my God. And then my kids came down. They were like, the Wi-Fi is not working. I'm like, damn it. Yeah, we occasionally lose it every once in a while, but it was going so great in the beginning. And then I was like, all of a sudden, boom, gone. But the other,
I was like, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say the other thing too that I like to do is I practice a lot of mindfulness, just being mindful. Like if I'm feeling anxious, I stop and I'm like, what's going on? Like, why am I feeling this way? What is happening? Like, I have like this internal check with myself. But I think just, for people that don't practice mindfulness or are beginning to do mindfulness, I think mindfulness is a really good process to learn and to be conscious about.
Yeah.
Because I practice mindfulness like every single day, and breathing, just breathing normally, deeply, and being aware of like breathing in and breathing out. Because even when I was doing the Reiki stuff, like clients, when they would lay on the table just breathing, I'm like, holy crap, like you're not even like their breathing was shallow, was very like abrupt,
Mhm.
and it's just like people don't know how to breathe, like like deep in, like breathe in, breathe out, and be
Yeah.
calm. So
Yes, and I think it's because of the society we live in. We're always in the on position. We always have to be going somewhere. We always have to be
right,
doing something. So it's hard sometimes to connect with yourself and be in the moment.
right,
So that's great
right,
advice. Oh man. Yeah,
yep,
I
in the
struggle with that
moment
one
for sure.
sometimes.
But you have to. It's just like it's like a
Yes.
routine. You have to learn how to. It's just like part of your routine. Just like and acknowledge it too. Like, okay, like I am
Mhm.
being mindful. I'm going to be mindful for 5 minutes, just so you know what it feels like, and start utilizing it every day, like everyday practice.
Yeah, and you do notice a difference.
Oh my
Definitely.
God,
Even if it's
totally.
for
Yeah.
a second. Yeah, you can feel yourself relax, get into your
Yep.
body a little bit, and just be at peace for just a moment.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
sometimes that's all it takes to just get that blood pressure down and
Right.
get your mind right. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yep. Center yourself.
Yeah. Are there any other stories? Because this has been amazing, and I love hearing about all
Yeah.
your
Um.
mediumship and your readings.
Yeah, let me see. So, I mean, what kind of stories are you talking? Like, are you like spirits stories or?
Yeah. Let's just get into one more. Let's do it if there's one you want to
Yeah.
share.
Well, let's see. So I can tell you like a story from when I was in college.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
Okay.
listen. I'm ready.
So this is kind of a spooky one, but it's like a little clip it, if you will. But no,
Yeah.
I went to college in Manchester. The college is no longer there anymore. But when I was in college, there was this known fact that the college was haunted, but but I honestly did not know. Apparently it was, and it's actually in one of the most like haunted places in one of the books in New Hampshire. You know how they have books like, oh,
Oh,
here are the top
yeah.
20.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was Hesser College at that time is where I went.
Okay.
And anyways, I guess it used to be a factory, and they had young kids that worked there, and I guess there was some sort of fire and flood or something where people ended up dying, and it was known that people died, and some of them were kids.
Hmm.
And anyways, so one day I was getting ready for an exam, and I was studying in my room, and I couldn't concentrate, and I put some music on, and I still couldn't concentrate, and I was just like, okay, well, you know what, I'm just going to shut the music off, and I'm just going to try to bunker down and study. So sitting at my desk, and I shut the radio off, and the radio came back on by itself, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. Didn't think much of it. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
actually unplugged the radio, and studying away, and maybe 5-10 minutes later, I kid you not, the radio came on, and mind you, it's unplugged. The radio came on, and the dial was changing, and it was like, you know how like old school like
No.
dials.
Yeah.
It was it
Yeah.
was it was moving by itself, unplugged, with with like, you know like commercials and shit going on, and I was like,
No kidding.
I
Oh my
was like, I am out of here. I forget. I dropped my stuff. I went out of the
God.
room, and I lost my mind. That was so
I bet.
scary. And then, like, I was telling people, and then other people were like sharing their experiences of like, oh my God, I didn't know that happened to you, because in my room, this is what happened or whatever. So that was interesting. And then also, same college, um, it was nighttime, And I was one of the RAs at the time, and I was hearing some noises out in the hall in the middle of the night, and it sounded like somebody was bouncing like a ball down the hallway, like just bouncing, bouncing, bouncing. So I get up, I open the door because I was gonna like, give crap to whoever was doing it. Nobody was out there, and you could see like door handles like
Okay.
being touched, like going down the hall, but there was nobody there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. That is wild.
And rumor has it, in that book that I was telling you about, people had claimed that there was a little boy who apparently liked to bounce a ball down the hallway. And so that's probably what I was hearing, was the spirit of this kid who was bouncing the ball down the hallway in the middle of the night.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
So those are my two stories from Hesser College. Yeah.
I love
For
it.
any of those Hesser College people out there.
Yeah, I hope someone hears it and maybe they'll comment and say,
yeah,
I know what she's talking about.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah.
It's crazy.
But
well,
so, yeah.
You.
So, yes, you're welcome.
Yeah. Oh, my God. This has been such a great ride. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. I loved it. And, like I said, I have, I could talk for days and days, but maybe sometime other topics I will, if you're interested, I'm happy to join, and hopefully won't have as many problems with the Wi-Fi, but anyways.
I would love that. A follow-up episode. I'm totally on board.
Yeah.
100%. Let's do it.
That's awesome. I would love it. It could be like, chapter 2. Yeah.
Yes,
did I answer all
Jess
of your
part 2?
Yeah, right.
You did. I think you brought up, what you do for spiritual, and I think you went right into it with what other folks could do with like meditation is your biggest thing. Yeah,
yeah. But I would say for those that are really trying to hone into this sort of stuff, I would just say, don't rush it. Pace yourself. Don't fight against it. I would let it come to you. Like you can obviously have interest, but I feel like the more you try to put into it, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes less is more. You get less is more. And just, I encourage and challenge people to just sit and just be with themselves. And I guarantee you that you'll be able to hear things or sense things or smell things that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to do, because you're in that set of that mindset, like spirit is on a lower level. And so that's why we can hear, I think, spirits at night or when we're like chilling, is because now you're matching their energy. They can't really communicate with you when you're up here, when their energy is down, down, when you're calm and collective and just kind of like at a, just a peaceful peace. That's when I think people can hear better and sense things. That's just my feeling.
Absolutely. 100% agree with you. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Jess, for coming on. This has been awesome. I would love to have you back on for part 2. We'll hear some more stories. We'll figure that out on our end.
Yes.
But thank you for coming on to the podcast. This has been so awesome.
I love it, and I'm so excited for you, and I cannot wait. I am so thrilled for you. This is just so much fun.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it so much.
Yes. I told all my friends about you also, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Oh my God. Everybody's made me blush. I appreciate it so much. I'm so
I love that.
Embarrassed, but in a good way.
No.
I thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jess.